Okay, today we wake up to a world that never stops moving. The phone vibrates before sunrise, the inbox fills faster than our thoughts can settle, and amidst the noise, you pause for a moment, wondering why focus feels so fragile, why discipline slips through your fingers no matter how hard you try to hold it. The ancient Romans once asked the same question, and their answer was Stoicism. Welcome to Stoic Dhamma, where we explore the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy to build a calm, unshakable mind in a chaotic world. In today's video, we'll uncover how Stoic habits help you build discipline and focus, the twin pillars of inner peace and lasting success. Let's begin this quiet journey inward. Habits are the architecture of character. Every choice, repeated long enough, becomes the invisible pattern that shapes who you are. The Stoics believe that no one becomes strong in chaos unless they have first trained themselves in calm. To them, discipline was not forged in the noise of battle, but in the quiet rehearsal of the mind, moment by moment, breath by breath. Stoicism is often misunderstood as emotional suppression, but it is not the denial of feeling, it is the education of it. The Stoic does not silence anger. They study it, learn its rhythm, and decide when, if ever, it deserves to speak. They do not reject fear. They invite it in and recognize its limits. Stoicism teaches that emotions are not enemies but signals. The true practice lies in how we respond. From here, we turn to the heart of Stoic philosophy, habit as philosophy in motion. For the Stoic, wisdom is not achieved through debate or books alone. It must live in behavior. Seneca wrote that philosophy should heal the soul, not decorate the tongue. A Stoic habit, then, is philosophy translated into the rhythm of daily life. How you rise in the morning, how you respond when insulted, how you breathe when plans collapse. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, writing meditations by dim lamplight in a war tent. Outside, soldiers march across frozen fields. Inside, their ruler writes reminders to himself, to remain patient, to act justly, to stay calm amid the storm. He could command legions, but he could not command the world. So he chose instead to command his mind. His daily writings were not for others. They were exercises in focus, repetitions of discipline. The power of Stoic habits lies in their simplicity. They are not grand resolutions shouted into the sky, but quiet practices done repeatedly until they reshape the soul. Epictetus taught that excellence is not achieved all at once, but through small victories over the self. Just as muscles grow by resistance, so does virtue strengthen through friction, the friction of desire, distraction, and difficulty. In a world that celebrates constant motion, Stoicism asks you to pause. It challenges the belief that productivity equals purpose. The Stoic habit is a rebellion against chaos, a deliberate act of mindfulness in an age of noise. To sit in silence for 5 minutes before speaking, to breathe before reacting, to reflect before judging. These are not weaknesses, but demonstrations of control. There's another layer to this. The Stoic habit is not about escaping emotion, but mastering its influence. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the obstacle becomes the way. When frustration arises, it is not an interruption, it is training. Every inconvenience is a chance to practice patience, every setback an opportunity to strengthen discipline. The habit of reframing adversity transforms life into a continuous classroom. Now imagine your own morning. You wake, check your phone, and the flood begins. Notifications, reminders, expectations. What if instead you paused, just once, before touching the screen? What if you built the habit of reflection before reaction? This small shift could be the beginning of Stoic discipline. Because if you cannot command your first action of the day, the world will command the rest of it for you. The Stoics saw the mind as a fortress, but not a closed one. Its walls were built from repeated intention, not withdrawal. Each habit, waking early, journaling, maintaining silence, showing gratitude, was a brick placed carefully over time. The stronger these habits became, the less external events could disturb their peace. From here, we can understand why Stoic habits possess such enduring power. They transform abstract philosophy into a living experience. Reading about calmness is not the same as choosing calmness when insulted. Knowing the words of virtue means little without the discipline to live them. The Stoics built a bridge between thought and action, and habit was that bridge. In modern psychology, we might call it behavioral conditioning. In Stoicism, it is moral training. Both point to the same truth. Repeated actions rewire the brain and reshape the self. The Stoics simply recognized this centuries earlier. They understood that we do not rise to our goals. We fall to the level of our habits. There is a quiet courage in repetition. Anyone can act wisely once, but to act with virtue every day, especially when no one is watching, requires devotion. The Stoic habit is not performed for praise or recognition. It is an offering to the self, a daily renewal of one's values. Seneca compared it to polishing the mind as one polishes a sword. Each morning reflection, each act of restraint, sharpens the edge of awareness. The question remains, what happens when these habits take root? Slowly, your reactions soften. The space between impulse and response widens. You begin to choose your actions rather than be carried by them. Discipline stops feeling like a cage and becomes a compass. Focus ceases to be forced effort. It flows naturally from clarity. But this transformation does not appear overnight. The Stoics never promised instant enlightenment. They promised progress through practice. Like Marcus in his tent, like Epictetus teaching with a crippled leg, they proved that consistency is the true measure of strength. The Stoic path is not about perfection. It is about presence. So pause for a moment. Reflect on the pattern of your own days. Are your habits serving your peace or stealing it? Are you training the mind or letting it wander? Every moment offers a choice, to act consciously or to repeat unconsciously. If you cannot master your habits, can you ever truly master your life? This timeless question lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, a challenge left for us by the ancient thinkers. From here, we journey back to the roots of their discipline, to the dawn of Stoic thought where Zeno, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius shaped a philosophy of inner strength. Across centuries, their wisdom continues to guide modern minds toward calm, focus, and conscious self-mastery. Over 2,000 years ago, on the sunlit streets of Athens, a shipwrecked merchant named Zeno of Citium wandered into a small bookstore. He had lost his wealth, his ship, and his sense of purpose. Yet in that collapse, he uncovered a truth that would endure beyond empires. The mind holds a power untouched by circumstance. From the ruins of his fortune rose Stoicism, a philosophy of inner command and self-mastery. Zeno began teaching in the open colonnades known as the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch. There, amid traders, travelers, and thinkers, he shared a radical message for his time. Happiness depends not on events, but on our perception of them. True stability, he taught, is born from within. The Stoic path does not rest on possessions or power, but on the discipline of perception and the harmony between thought and action. At the heart of Stoicism lies one enduring principle. Virtue is the only true good. All else, wealth, fame, health, even life itself, are externals beyond our control. They may shift like tides, but they cannot touch the soul's fortress unless we allow them. This is not withdrawal from life, but an awakening to agency, the realization that our response defines our freedom. Seneca, centuries later, would echo this wisdom. Amid the peril and luxury of Nero's court, he wrote that our most precious resource is time. It is not that we have too little, he warned, but that we waste much of it. In our modern world of endless notifications and divided attention, his words still cut deep. Discipline begins not with the body, but with the stewardship of focus, the art of protecting the present moment. Epictetus, once a slave, carried Stoicism into its most practical form. He taught that no one can enslave a free mind. The world can confine your body, but only you decide how to interpret your experience. His famous dichotomy of control, dividing all things into what depends on us and what does not, is a map toward peace. Discipline, for Epictetus, is not about dominance but discernment. to see clearly what belongs to you and what never will. This clarity transforms suffering into strength, for the uncontrollable loses its power when recognized as such. Then came Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the known world, commanding vast armies and yet, each night, writing privately to himself in a leather-bound journal. Amid power, he practiced restraint. Amid war, serenity. His notes, later known as meditations, are not decrees but reminders. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Marcus Aurelius' discipline was not born from duty to an empire, but from duty to his own reason. He understood that leadership begins in self-command. From Zeno's porch to Marcus's tent, the Stoic lineage reveals a striking consistency. Discipline is an act of freedom. To the Stoic, self-control is not suppression. It is liberation from the tyranny of impulse. In training the will, they found not rigidity, but clarity. This kind of discipline does not harden the heart. It softens the ego until the soul aligns with nature's flow. Now imagine the context of their world: plagues, wars, political turmoil. Stoicism did not emerge in peace. It was forged amid instability. These thinkers were not detached mystics but participants in public life: teachers, soldiers, advisors, rulers. Their philosophy had to work in the dust and noise of daily existence. That is why Stoic discipline feels timeless. It speaks to those who must remain calm while the world trembles. In Stoic philosophy, virtue is not abstract. It is lived through four guiding qualities: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Wisdom directs our choices. Courage sustains us through fear. Justice keeps us aligned with others, and temperance balances our desires. Each virtue grows through habit, and each habit shapes perception, steadying the mind through repetition. The Stoics refined this discipline through daily reflection, preparing at dawn for life, trials, and reviewing at dusk without judgment. This was not ritual, but realignment, a quiet return to awareness. Today, our battles have changed form: notifications instead of spears, deadlines instead of emperors. Yet the principle endures: focus on what you can control. Each moment you withdraw from distraction and return to purpose, you practice the same inner discipline that guided the Stoics across centuries. But there's another layer to uncover. Stoic discipline is not motivated by fear of failure or the need for approval. It grows from understanding. When you realize how little you truly control, anxiety gives way to acceptance. From acceptance rises calm action. This is mindful discipline, not forced willpower but voluntary steadiness. The Stoics knew that willpower alone burns out. Awareness renews itself. Seneca advised to align your life with reason, and you will never be poor of purpose. Epictetus insisted that freedom begins when we stop blaming others. Marcus wrote that everything you think should be said to yourself first, with kindness. Across generations, their teachings converge into one insight: the disciplined life is not the narrow one. It is the most expansive because it frees you from unnecessary suffering. Discipline, in the Stoic sense, is the art of aligning the inner with the outer. It is standing firm while the current moves around you. It does not promise control over fate, but mastery of attention. And from that mastery, peace quietly unfolds. As we look back at the roots of Stoic discipline, we see not a collection of ancient doctrines but a living framework, a way of perceiving, deciding, and being. The Stoics remind us that philosophy is useless without practice, and practice is blind without philosophy. One shapes the other, like breath and body in meditation. From here, we move toward the next step, transforming these ancient insights into action. How can we bring Stoic habits into the modern day? How can philosophy become a living rhythm within your routine? In the next part, we will turn this wisdom into daily practice, where thought meets behavior, and the calm mind becomes a disciplined life. From philosophy to practice, Stoicism finds its true strength not in words but in repetition, small conscious acts that train the mind to meet life with clarity. Stoic habits are not grand declarations of self-improvement. They are quiet rituals of awareness. They are how philosophy moves from thought to embodiment, how wisdom takes the shape of behavior. Modern people often build discipline through deadlines and external pressure. The Stoics built theirs through perception and intention. A modern schedule is ruled by alarms and calendars, but the Stoic day is ruled by self-command. The difference is subtle yet profound. One demands obedience to time, the other invites mastery of mind. When discipline is rooted in awareness, it becomes sustainable, not brittle. Stoic habits begin with a question: how do I respond to what I cannot control? This inquiry transforms philosophy from abstraction into daily practice. Every reaction becomes a lesson, every frustration a mirror. It's not about controlling emotion, but cultivating the space between stimulus and response. That space, when protected, is where freedom lives. Let's bring this to life through the realms where we all struggle: work, relationships, and inner life. In work, the Stoic principle of amor fati, love your fate, acts as a compass for resilience. Rather than resisting outcomes, you embrace them as threads in your own evolution. A failure, a delay, or a loss becomes material for growth. Amor fati is not resignation, but cooperation with reality, transforming frustration into wisdom. The modern mind says, "This shouldn't have happened." The Stoic mind answers, "It has. How can I use it well?" In relationships, discipline takes form through the dichotomy of control. You cannot command another's thoughts or emotions, only your response. The Stoic does not argue to conquer but to understand, remaining calm amid conflict. As Seneca observed, anger arises when we expect others to act as we wish, not as they are. The Stoic learns acceptance without apathy, to care fully, yet remain inwardly free. In the realm of the inner life, practice becomes most personal. The ancient Stoics ended each day with a ritual of self-inquiry, the evening journal. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is the most famous example. Each night he asked himself, "What did I do well? Where did I falter? What can I learn tomorrow?" This habit transforms the mind into a workshop of virtue. You do not condemn yourself. You observe yourself the way a sculptor studies the stone before another stroke. To turn philosophy into practice, Stoicism offers 4 timeless exercises: simple, accessible, and powerful. 1. Morning reflection. Before the day begins, sit quietly for 5 minutes. Anticipate the challenges ahead. You might meet impatience, irritation, or distraction. Visualize them not as threats but as opportunities for mastery. This mental rehearsal prepares the soul for calm engagement. Marcus began each day by reminding himself that he would meet meddling, ungrateful, arrogant people, and that they acted from ignorance, not malice. By expecting reality, he met it with grace. The negative visualization. At first glance, this seems somber, to imagine losing what you love. But the Stoics practiced this not to grieve in advance, but to awaken gratitude. Picture your morning coffee disappearing, your loved one leaving for a long journey, your body aging one day faster. In that fleeting vision, presence sharpens, the mundane becomes sacred. Epictetus taught that when you kiss your child, remind yourself they are mortal, not to despair, but to cherish. Gratitude is born not from abundance, but from awareness of impermanence. 3. Voluntary discomfort. To strengthen the will, the Stoics occasionally chose mild hardship. They might sleep on the floor, fast for a day, or walk barefoot. The goal was not suffering for its own sake, but freedom from dependency. When you practice discomfort, comfort loses its hold on you. In a culture that sells ease as happiness, voluntary difficulty becomes an act of rebellion. It teaches you that you need far less than you think, and that resilience is built, not gifted. 4. Daily journaling. Writing is the Stoic's mirror. It reveals patterns, clarifies emotions, and transforms confusion into insight. Each night, record the day as if you were both student and teacher. Note your impulses, your patience, your moments of awareness. Over time, these entries become more than reflections. They become a record of becoming. The Stoic journal is not a diary of events, but a dialogue with the self. It is how the invisible work of philosophy takes tangible form. Now imagine your daily routine shaped by these habits. You wake not to chaos, but to clarity. You meet challenge with presence, not panic. You close the day not with noise, but with reflection. Over time, these small disciplines accumulate into a quiet strength. They do not demand perfection. They invite persistence. Now, notice the distinction between external and inner discipline. External discipline is driven by fear of failure, judgment, or falling behind. Inner discipline, however, grows from understanding of nature, impermanence, and control. The Stoics cultivated this deeper form. Their calm was not passivity but mastery, the quiet strength of a mind that leads and a body that follows. To live stoically today, you need no scroll or temple, only awareness. In the digital age, every message, delay, or irritation becomes a training ground. Each moment invites you to practice patience, gratitude, or restraint. In this way, philosophy becomes daily mindfulness, and ancient wisdom flows naturally into modern life. Stoicism is not withdrawal from the world, but wiser engagement with it. You still strive, love, and act, but from stillness, not struggle. Discipline transforms from control into alignment, uniting thought and action. So pause. Ask yourself, what if every reaction became a choice? Every habit, a return to balance? This is the essence of Stoic practice, awareness in motion. From here, we turn to modern reflections of this timeless discipline and the living proof that calm strength still endures. Discipline is not a cage. It is the quiet architecture of freedom. In a world obsessed with convenience, Stoic discipline reminds us that strength is not built by avoiding discomfort, but by engaging with it consciously. The Stoics never sought an easy life. They sought the power to face life as it is. To them, self-control was not suppression. It was liberation from impulse, from reaction, from chaos. True discipline is not about tightening the chains of willpower, but about loosening the grip of distraction. This timeless truth has guided both emperors and prisoners, writers and warriors. It has survived because it speaks to something universal, the need to remain steady when life becomes unpredictable. And in the modern world, its relevance has only deepened. Consider Admiral James Stockdale, a living embodiment of Stoic strength. During the Vietnam War, his plane was shot down, and he spent over 7 years as a prisoner of war, enduring torture and isolation. Before his capture, Stockdale had studied the works of Epictetus, whose teachings became his mental armor. Epictetus wrote, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus can get the better of my free will." Stockdale lived this truth. In captivity, he reminded himself that though he could not control his body's suffering, he could always control his response. He created a secret communication system among prisoners, helping them preserve dignity and solidarity. He refused to let despair dictate his mind. When later asked how he survived, Stockdale said, "I never lost faith in the end of the story." His endurance was not naive optimism. It was disciplined hope, grounded in Stoic resilience. He did not expect comfort. He prepared for reality. That preparation made him unbreakable. Then there is Ryan Holiday, a modern voice who has brought Stoicism into the language of our time. As a writer, publisher, and thinker, Holiday transformed ancient wisdom into a guide for modern creativity and focus. His book, The Daily Stoic, encourages readers to treat philosophy as a daily discipline, a mental gym where each page trains awareness. Holiday often writes at dawn, disconnected from distractions, following a Stoic principle: control what you can, accept what you can't, focus on what matters. His routine is less about productivity hacks and more about mental clarity. In interviews, he notes that Stoicism helps him approach both success and failure with balance. The goal is not to eliminate emotion, but to manage its direction, to let reason lead where passion follows. Both Stockdale and Holiday show how Stoic discipline transcends context. Whether in a prison cell or a creative studio, the same principles apply. Control your perception, direct your response, and remain anchored to virtue. The circumstances differ, but the inner architecture remains. In today's overstimulated world, where attention is currency and distraction a constant seduction, Stoic discipline becomes more vital than ever. Modern Stoicism is not about ancient robes and marble columns. It's about how you handle your phone, your time, your thoughts. The question is no longer how to endure physical hardship, but how to withstand the invisible assault of noise and speed. Each notification tests your ability to remain present. Each delay tests your patience. Each disagreement tests your equanimity. In every moment, Stoicism offers a choice. Will you react automatically or respond consciously? The Stoic habit is simply to pause, to place awareness between impulse and action. That pause, multiplied across a lifetime, becomes freedom. Let's bring this closer to practice. You don't need to change your life overnight to live stoically. Begin small. Wake early. Not to chase productivity, but to meet the day with clarity before the world begins its noise. Write to understand, not to impress. When frustration arises, ask yourself, is this within my control? If it isn't, let it go. Meet success with humility and failure with curiosity. Each response becomes practice, a quiet shaping of the mind toward balance, awareness, and the steady strength of Stoic calm. Discipline is not measured by how tightly you grip control, but by how gracefully you let go of what isn't yours to command. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire of his time, yet his journal reveals a man constantly reminding himself of fragility, impermanence, and restraint. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. In those words, we find the essence of Stoic practice, the merging of thought and action. For the Stoic, every act of awareness is a victory. Every time you resist distraction, every time you choose patience over anger, every time you act with purpose rather than impulse, you are practicing philosophy. You are becoming free. In the modern era, Stoicism has quietly found its place in business, leadership, psychology, and even sports. From CEOs who use reflection to navigate chaos, to athletes who use visualization to stay composed under pressure, Stoic habits have become tools for human performance. Yet beyond success, their true aim remains the same as it was 2,000 years ago: to live in accordance with nature, to remain calm within storm, to act rightly despite uncertainty. The beauty of Stoic discipline lies in its paradox. It demands effort, but produces ease. It asks for structure, but yields serenity. It teaches that freedom is not the absence of restraint, but the mastery of it. When life feels overwhelming, remember, Stoicism is not about suppressing emotion, but refining perception. You don't silence the storm, you learn to navigate it. Start small, a morning reflection, a brief journal entry, a pause before reacting. These simple acts are seeds of mastery, quietly shaping the mind into steadiness. With time, inner discipline transforms everything. The noise dims, fear loosens, and focus returns. You stop grasping for control and begin to embody calm. In that quiet strength, in the unwavering balance between thought and action, you uncover the heart of Stoic wisdom. That true freedom is not found by escaping life, but by meeting it fully with courage, clarity, and peace. In the end, the Stoics remind us of a simple, eternal truth. Strength begins within. Discipline is not punishment, it's the quiet devotion to living with intention. Focus is not force, it's the art of presence, of being fully awake to this moment. When you choose awareness over impulse, reflection over reaction, you reclaim your power. So, take a breath. Begin small. Practice one Stoic habit today. Pause before you speak, write a single line in your journal, or simply remind yourself that peace is a choice, not a coincidence. Every act of mindfulness strengthens the mind that leads your life. If this journey resonated with you, consider subscribing to Stoic Dhamma, sharing your reflections in the comments, or passing this wisdom forward. And stay with us, because in the next video we all explore Stoic lessons on simplicity and daily self-discipline, how the ancient pursuit of less can help us live with more clarity, purpose, and calm.